821 of the Big 550 KTRS. Paul Harris and Kelly Jackson getting to play together while McGraw is off for today. He will be back in tomorrow morning, and then I will be back on my regular Friday afternoon show this Friday. That music means it's time to bring in Gail Pennington, the television critic for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Gail.
I have to ask you right off the bat here about The Amazing Race, a show that I have watched every episode of since it debuted a decade ago.
We share the passion for The Amazing Race.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, and on Friday night, there was a surprise when instead of having just a final 3 teams, Phil Kogan said there were going to be the final 4 teams, and one of those includes a St. Louisan, right?
Right. Maya Warren, who's one of the sweet scientists, she's ID'd as being from Madison, Wisconsin, because that's where she's getting her doctorate in food science. But she's actually from here. She's a Rosati Kane graduate, and I had ice cream with her Friday night at her mom's house in Creve Coeur.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Now, was she allowed to tell you anything about the season?
She was not allowed to do interviews, but the crowd, because it wasn't just me and her and ice cream, their family and friends were there watching the episode, and they asked a lot of questions, and she answered them.
So wait.
I said to her, I think it's unfair at the very tail end of the race to have such physical challenges that tend to eliminate an all-female team.
Yes, I agree. And that was one of the things that doomed them on Friday, and if there were only going to be 3 teams going to the finals, they definitely would have been eliminated.
Right, because the challenge was to carry really, really heavy things for a very long distance in very hot weather.
Yep.
And I just think, she said she did not think it was unfair. She said that, remember Tim and TJ, the team that was eliminated earlier? They were young men who were very slight build. She said that she wouldn't have had as much trouble doing that as they would have.
Yep. No. She's got a good point there. How is that show doing since they moved it from Sunday nights to Friday nights?
I think CBS is quite happy with it. It's not going to have the ratings it had on Sunday when it was coming out of football. But then when it was coming out of an NFL game, it always ran over. It always threw the time off, and it made everybody crazy.
Yeah.
You know, some of those shows don't last. They don't stand the test of time. Have they changed this show up much? Has it just been the same premise all these years?
I don't feel that they've changed it very much. What about you, Paul?
No, I don't think they've changed it at all. I think that the great thing about the show is that they're able to find new places to take these contestants, and the real conceit of the show isn't, what will this week's challenge be for them to do, the detour or the roadblock. It has always been the relationship, the pre-existing relationship between the team members. Can they go around the world through 25,000 miles of travel or whatever it turns out to be without driving each other crazy like the Odd Couple?
Right.
Oh, she told me something interesting. Brooke and Robbie, the wrestlers, broke up after the race. Does that surprise you? It does not surprise me.
Well, you know what? That does tell me that they didn't win.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes they can even take their half of the money and run with it.
I just know if I'm going to all these different countries and killing myself, and if one person ruins it for me, I don't know how my relationship would be afterwards.
There have been a lot of relationships that have deteriorated completely on that show. I remember one several years ago. Gail, maybe you remember the names of these people, where the woman was such an incredible whiner, and the guy was almost heroic in dragging her across the finish line to win.
I do, and we couldn't stand her.
Oh.
We thought he should get all the money, and he should just disappear.
All right, on other television subjects, I see this morning that Brian Williams has signed a new 5-year deal to continue as the anchor of the NBC Nightly News. Does that also mean that Allison Williams is the official flying boy for the network?
I think probably she's going to be in every musical they do every Christmas from now on. Next year, The Music Man. The year after that, who knows what.
What else do you have to talk about this week as we approach Christmas? There's a lot of Christmas-related programming coming up.
There is a lot, but tonight and tomorrow night, the American Heroes channel, which people are not going to be able to find because it was called Discovery Wings, and then it was called the Military Channel. But everybody has it. It's one of the Discovery channels. They have a 6-hour, 2-night miniseries about the American Revolution, of all things.
I have
not seen a minute of it, but it's an interesting concept to have the week before Christmas.
I have a guy who's hosting one of the shows on that channel, a show called Secrets of the Arsenal. His name is Jeff Edgers. He's going to join me here in about 25 minutes.
Oh, all right. And then Sci-Fi debuts a new series tonight called Ascension. In the 60s, we sent a ship out into space on a 100-year journey to colonize another planet.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're halfway through, and they've run into trouble.
In space? Running into trouble?
I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it? It's funny about science fiction shows now. They all feel like you've seen them before, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I'd like to see a show. Yep, that mission's going just fine. Haven't run into any problems yet. How long has it been out there? 35 years. Really? Nothing? No. Everything's fine. They're collecting data and sending it back, and everybody's happy.
So NBC is turning Elf into an animated Christmas special. Elf's one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Is Will Ferrell doing it?
Yeah. No, Jim Parsons is the voice of Buddy, but it's sort of a hybrid of the movie and the stage musical Elf, which I hear was terrible. I have not seen it.
I don't know if I would like this animated.
It's an old-fashioned stop-motion animated, like this 1960s classics, 60s and 70s classics.
You mean like Rudolph and everything?
Yeah, like Rudolph.
Oh.
Animated like that.
Those old shows still get huge ratings, don't they?
Huge ratings. Everybody started their Christmas programming this year, like at Thanksgiving. Some even were before Thanksgiving. And they've gotten enormous ratings for them. All those original Christmas movies on Hallmark and Lifetime, they get huge ratings.
And Gail, I watch every one of them.
Do you?
Really?
I do. And I DVR all those Hallmark and Lifetime.
You cry at the end of Rudolph, don't you?
No, I don't. But it makes you fuzzy and warm inside.
Mm-hmm.
When the girl bakes the right Christmas cookies and she gets the guy.
Yes. I mean, they all have the same, same line, but different actors.
Yeah.
Right,
But I like it.
exactly. And sometimes they're puppies and kittens.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
Guys watch those and go, you didn't have to bake me cookies. That wasn't what I was in this for.
Oh, you don't know McGraw well, do you?
Yeah, really.
He loves those movies.
He does.
Let me ask you about a couple of non-related things. I know that there are series that are ending this week, The Mentalist and White Collar, but the one that's probably going to get the most headlines is the end of 9 years on Comedy Central for the Colbert Report. Before Stephen Colbert goes off and takes over for David Letterman. Letterman's leaving in May, and Colbert won't come back on with his version of The Late Show until September. What's the legacy of this show?
It's such a brilliant twist on the nightly comedy comment on the world. I was skeptical when he started because I've always been a huge Daily Show aficionado, and he'd been on the Daily Show, and but his persona of the conservative pundit has just really hit a lot of right marks as far as I'm concerned with his commentary.
I think the most impressive thing he's done is improvise in character when he's doing the interviews.
He's brilliant at that, yeah.
Absolutely. What's going to happen on CBS between Letterman and Colbert next summer?
They're not saying. So I don't know.
I heard that they were thinking about running things like NCIS in that slot, but they can't do that. That's going to kill this James Corden who's taking over for Craig Ferguson and following him.
It absolutely would be a disaster. And James Corden starts in March.
Right.
So he starts a lot earlier.
That's a long span to wait between, Colbert starts.
The timing when they announced it last week was a real surprise to me. I thought the timing would be similar. That they might let one start a little earlier than the other, but that it would be similar. I know Colbert's going to be Corden's first guest. They plotted that out when Corden was on the Colbert Report last week.
Gail, I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And you too.
Always
Take
a pleasure
care.
talking to you. Gail Pennington, TV critic for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch here on McGraw Live in the Morning with Paul Harris and Kelly Jackson on the Big 5.